Hello, and welcome to this very special live stream. I have two things that I want to do on this live stream. So one is obviously talk about the Rio Negro and do a bit of a deep dive on the actual environment and the habitat, and also to celebrate a milestone of my YouTube channel, which is that I've just hit or surpassed 10,000 subscribers, which I'm absolutely over the moon about. Some of my recent videos have done extremely well, which has helped me there. And I'm sort of really trying to hone in my skills and what my audience wants. So I'm really excited about that, but not here to talk about the 10K or anything like that. We want to get straight into what we are talking about today. So before we get started, I also have a resource link on my new Discord server, and I've got lots of free PDFs and guides for you to download for free. There's some safe wood foraging guides. I've got a flow calculator that I created. I've got some botanical prep guides on there. And a few other various different bits and pieces. And what I'll do is I will drop the link to the Discord server a little later on in the chat, just so we can get straight to what we're actually doing today. So essentially what my plan is that we're going to be doing a little bit of a briefing on the Rio Negro, which is part of the Amazon River. It's all the same sort of thing. But yeah, just taking a look at the environment, kind of what's there, the conditions of the water, what animals sort of breed and live in those kind of environments, and just sort of take a bit of a look into it. So we're not building anything in this, or I'm not actually swimming the environment. We're just going to take a look at it on my computer basically, and just sort of check out a few bits and pieces. And what's absolutely amazing for me is that I have a presentation that I worked on that's sort of pretty cool. So we got a bit of an overview of what we're doing. So if I hit this, hopefully, there we go. So yeah, we can sort of take a brief look. I'll sort of follow the slides. Please bear with me. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this, so hopefully it goes okay. But I'll just sort of explain a little bit of the habitat of the Rio Negro and the sort of the benefits to the fish and what you sort of get when you have them at home, and sort of how we can take some of those elements of that natural habitat and bring them into our sort of aquariums at home and stuff. So yeah, so let's take a look at the environment and where it is first of all. So I've got a clip here on Google Earth. So it is in Brazil. So South America, and if we zoom in, the Rio Negro is a massive river that stretches through quite a lot of Brazil. So it actually is one of the largest blackwater rivers in the world. It stretches over well, just over 2,000 kilometers, which is roughly about 1,400 miles long, and it goes straight through Colombia, Venezuela, and Brazil. And so you can see there, it's a sort of a massive location there, and this is kind of like the types of environments you get. So you get this nice tea-stained water, and it's not sort of clear or fresh water; it's very acidic. And yeah, there's a lot of different sort of species. We're talking a very low a very low mineral content. So there's not a lot of minerals in the water for that effect of the tannins that's in the water. So that's the brown tea stained sort of color there. Trees wise, so there is lots of different types of trees that you get sort of around the area. And let me just skip through. So yeah, you can see this is the kind of areas that you've got. So the Rio Negro is surrounded by the Amazon rainforest there. So there's absolutely hundreds and thousands of different trees there. And there's trees like Brazil nut trees, which some of those pods that you can actually use in your fish tanks. You've got palm trees, banana trees, jackfruit leaves that you might have used in your fish tanks before as well. Them sort of things can be found sort of surrounding the river streams of the Amazon there. And that is mainly how the water becomes tinted and tannin stained with that brown water there, is that the leaves will just naturally die off the trees, fall into the water, and then they eventually sink, and that's what leaches the brown tea stain like color. It's kind of exactly the same as like a cup of tea. It's the leaves that turn the water brown. um, and there is a lot of adaptation with these trees as well. They have a lot of the trees are surrounded by a lot of water, so they're naturally evolved to have sort of very thick waxy leaves to prevent water loss, and because of the lack of nutrients in the water as well, it's sort of they struggle to drink the water that's there, so that's again why they have like thick waxy leaves. And there's also many trees like the Eschweilia, sorry, that drop fruit exactly when the flood peaks. And this is because they outsource their seed dispersal to the fish. And they eat the fruit like sort of pacus, for example, and they swim miles around and plant and then once they eat the seeds from the fruit, they will then swim around in different parts of the river, and then when they poo, for example, the that then sort of leaches the seeds there, and then that's where more trees grow. So there's lots of things going on around there. In terms of like the temperatures and everything like that, it's ridiculous around there. I did have a note of it. Please bear with me. Yeah, so the temperatures in some of the water can hit around 32 degrees, for example. So it's it is quite a warm environment. Obviously, the temperatures will dip as they do anywhere in the world to low 20s. And again, that I think that's quite an important thing to note as well, that people tend to hyperfixate on temperature in aquariums and make sure that they're completely stable and consistent at the same temperature throughout the day. But again, in the wilds, like fish are adjusted to different temperatures. The most important thing, I think, probably which you must be mindful within your own aquariums, is that the temperature doesn't drop or increase dramatically over a very short period of time. When these fish are in the wilds, they're surrounded by massive bodies of water, so temperature doesn't increase or decrease as quickly. And also this usually happens throughout the day as the hot weather turns to night and it gets a little bit cooler. And yeah, sorry, I just dropped something there. But yeah, so there's a lot going on really in there. And also, if we're going back to sort of like the area here, so there's also other parts of the Rio that is called the Igapo, and that is like seasonal flooding areas. So you will tend to find that certain parts of the river or the rainforest tend to at certain times of the year get flooded. So it's completely like dead and dry at one point, full of dead leaves, and then all of a sudden there'll be the storm seasons, and these areas will fill up with water, and then they tend to have lots of life in those environments there. So there's a very diverse ecosystem going on around that area, which makes it absolutely fascinating to sort of study. And I'd love to go there one day and actually have a look for myself. And when we're talking about like animals within the area as well, there's quite a lot of different types of animals that sort of sort of surround the areas, not just under the water, but we're talking about around the actual surrounding areas. You've got red brocket deer, lots of things like that. You've got predators like jaguars, river otters. I'm sure you've seen those pink dolphins as well swimming around or on pictures and stuff, which are absolutely fascinating to have a look at. But there's a very diverse amount of animals within the area. You've got lots of monkeys with sort of around as well. I think I haven't got it. Yeah, so yeah, there's lots going on in terms of outside, and then when we go inside the water as well, you've got like absolutely tons of different types of fish there. You've got your Cardinal Tetras, which are probably the most popular one that everybody sort of knows about in the fish keeping hobby. You've got fish like discus, which I always find quite ironic, because when we see discus quite a lot of the time in tanks, yeah, a lot of people sort of have them in very clear, pristine water, but they actually do come from the murky, tannin stained rivers, which is why they're very sensitive to like soft water and stuff like that, because it's exactly what they need and what they're used to. So they're quite an interesting fish to sort of have and study. There's also animals like the gouramis, for example. A lot of those live around this type of area. Lots of different types of tetras. Serpe tetras, for example, they're a great one. They look amazing, but they're orange and they sort of blend in really nicely with the environment. And there's a lot of benefits in terms of fish behavior from the tannin water. I'm sure you've heard me go on about it a lot in some of my videos over the years and stuff about the sort of the impact of low light and environments. Sort of helps with line of sight, for example. So animals can't see predators, predators can't see other fish, and so they tend to have more brighter colors because they're more comfortable and happier, and they're not so under a bright light, for example. Again, that's a sort of a bit of a misconception about like aquarium lights, for example, is that you shouldn't really have like massive like hyper bright lights on fish, because they're probably getting scared and they've got nowhere to hide, whereas in these natural environments like these rivers, for example, full of dark water and surrounded by leaves and twigs and everything else that's inside in the water, that they then tend to color up really nicely and feel a lot more comfortable. So there is a lot to sort of go into, and again we can have a look into like the chemistry as well. So again, like I said, the natural temperatures there 26 to 32 degrees. So it's interesting when you have these in your house, because we tend to have them a little bit lower. Again, I've never been sort of fixated on having a set temperature. I think like if as long as the fish are not freezing cold, which some can tolerate like quite cool temperatures, but we're not stressing them out with like rapid swings, then I don't think it's as worrying as people make out. So it's like that same thing where like if your heater breaks, like it's not life or death in that sense. It depends on how quickly that heat, the temperature of the room, for example. So if it's in your house, for example, and the heater goes, it's probably not going to cause a massive amount of stress on your fish. Yet, say for example, if a heater went in my shed, for example, the temperature outside or in a shed is going to drop quite quickly compared to inside. So it's just about balance and sort of being mindful of those different things, really. So yeah, there's a lot going on there in terms of like substrate as well. So we've got like yeah, so sorry, I am skipping ahead a few things there. So again, on this image here, you can kind of see the types of environments, and I can't put too many pictures and stuff like that on this live stream because copyright reasons and things like that. But if you just Google Amazon River underwater, or have a look on YouTube, there's some amazing videos of like cardinal tetras in the wild and various other animals, and it's just absolutely fascinating to see. But you can see from this image here, like a lot of it is just like naturally fallen woods and other materials, not a lot of plants, sort of occasionally scattered around, not loads everywhere kind of thing, but they are about. And yeah, like I said, that lots of detritus as well. So all the biological breakdown from the leaves and other pods and stuff, for example, create like a thing called mulm, and that just sort of sits on top of the substrate, and it's just an active substrate. Then is full of benefits, nutrient benefits, everything like that, and it will help create that balanced ecosystem that you need, especially in a fish tank, for example. So having loads and loads of this sort of stuff enriches your substrate so much. It's just so beneficial to what you're doing. Underneath all that mulm though, it is just soil, sands, that type of thing. A lot of it's like white sands and that, so there's no minerals in there really. So it is a very low mineral sort of area, and like I said, as you can see, it's the water is very brown there. So we're talking like a kilogram of leaf litter, every square meter, for example, that just sits there and leaches all these humic substances. And one thing that we do have to be careful with if we're replicating these type of environments in our home is to replicate the conditions, but be aware that it's not the wild, if you know what I mean. So we don't just sort of focus on the fact that we can put loads and loads of different botanicals in our fish tank and then expect the not to see sort of pH swings, different ammonia spikes, that type of thing. And it all depends on the type of water that you've got. For example, if you've got high buffered water, so really hard water, for example, then your pH probably won't swing as hard, whereas if you've got very soft water, you put loads of botanicals all in at one go there, and that pH is going to drop like nobody's business. So it's being mindful of that. It's also being mindful of the fact that an aquarium is a closed system, so we're not getting constant streams of fresh water coming in, whereas a river is constantly moving, for example. So any pollutants, any dirt, any ammonia builds up, nitrates, all that sort of stuff gets brushed downstream, whereas in a fish tank it's all just sitting there constantly. So it's just being mindful of those kind of things that when you're doing this at home, but all very achievable, and so many great benefits to it if you're interested in that type of thing, which hopefully if you're watching this stream that you are. And yeah, like I said, lots of terrestrial animals there, loads of monkeys, that type of thing. What else have we got? So yeah, again, behavioral engine here. So we're talking about different benefits to the tannins that we have. Again, this is another one that I have talked about before. It's tannins also reduce like UV exposure. So it's one thing that people don't think of. I mean, if you stand in the sunlight too long, then obviously you're going to get burned, and it's going to cause like adverse effects if you haven't got sun cream on. Well, the same could kind of be said about fish. Extreme being exposed extremely to sunlight, for example, if the water is very clear, then it's going to create like issues with your fish. So having lower sort of, with the tannins in the water breaks up, it scatters light, basically. That's what it does. It's not so impactful. So again, UV is so much lower there. So that's another really good benefit to having these type of environments, or using tannins, for example. And again, we just need to kind of get past the fact that leaves in a tank and brown water is a bad thing, because thankfully I do think sort of fish keeping in the hobby has evolved over the years now, and we seem to be going in the right direction, from the plastic gravel and bubble diver days or whatever, but sort of moving to more natural systems, lots of planted aquascapes, that type of thing. It's just taking that next step, in my view, just to try and, I mean, you don't have to have a brown watered tank to have it natural. That's the other thing. Like the tannins, yes, they have loads of benefits, but if you're replicating the right substrate, you can still have leaves in your tank. There's ways of removing the actual tannins, the leach and stuff, just by different ways of prepping your botanicals, or using activated carbon, for example, that will pull that tannin color out. But just having those elements in your tank can create so many benefits to your fish. I've talked about it before again, but like just seeing natural behaviors from your animals, like foraging through the leaves. A great example I caught once on video of it was from some corridors that I had, and I had two sets of corridors. One were in a planted tank, just an aquascape years and years ago, and as with most that kept corridors, they're quite easily to start laying eggs. And when they do, they tend to just plaster them all over the glass, and it just sort of leaves like scatters of eggs on the glass there. But it kind of gets to the point where like fish will eat them, or the eggs won't survive because they're so exposed. And then I had a system, just a blackwater aquarium, let's call it that. It wasn't anything special. It just had some tannins and some leaves and a few bits of organic matter in there. And I saw the corridors going under the leaves, turning upside down, and then laying the eggs underneath the leaf, and then spinning back out of it again, which was like one of the coolest things that I've ever seen. And that sort of proves my point about those kind of natural behaviors. Also did a sort of study not so long ago, a YouTube video on just the behaviors of fish when you introduce tannins to the water. And I observed it over a month. And what I did is just had a blank aquarium with nothing in it, just some Cardinal Tetras and a heater and a filter. And I let the fish settle for a few days. I think it was a week, sorry, with just clear water. Fed them, just did everything that I normally do. And then I introduced some Lego to the tank just to see how they interacted with a foreign object in the tank at that point, to which most of them just sort of hid to the left side away from it. Occasionally sort of moved in. I think fish are quite curious anyway, but sort of commonly sort of hid behind the heater, if you will. But then I sort of added some tannins, just nothing else, just put some leached tannins from botanicals that I'd got, poured that into the tank, observed over again another week or whatever, and suddenly the fish were swimming more openly around the tank, and more slightly sort of towards the top sort of middle area where they kind of would be naturally. Now again, each to their own opinion on it. It was just a sort of an observation from my own. You could argue that the fish just being in the tank longer would get more comfortable, but it was just interesting to see. I think the thing that I noticed most was out of the sort of the shoal of 5 or 6 tetras that I had in there, they were more active, like they were sort of bouncing off each other and sort of like swimming around more rapidly, which was really interesting to see. So it was fascinating to watch that kind of thing going on. So there is, in my view, there is a lot of behavioral benefits to it. So definitely check out those videos if you haven't already, because they're a fascinating watch, and I'm hoping to do more of that sort of stuff so going forward, really. And so I mean, you can see this is sort of the end of the slide here, but like sort of this is kind of the environments that you'd see, like loads of algae everywhere as well. Again, I think that's a misconception of many people, is that algae's the enemy, and we shouldn't be involved in it. But I mean, it's really cool. So but fascinating to see, and algae is a good thing. Again, controlled. It depends on the environment you've got. I mean, some people really don't like it. If you want to create your aquarium to be a bit more natural, then it's a great thing. Great food source for animals like shrimp, for example. Absolutely love the stuff. Animals will lay eggs in them as well, so it's not all bad. But again, I understand the reasons why people would probably say that it's not good as well. So we just have to bear that in mind, I think, sort of going forward. I mean, that sort of is an overview, I'd say. I don't know if I've got more stuff. What was I going to see? Oh yeah, so again, you could sort of notice reduced aggression as well in fish. I think when again, I was saying about like behavioral changes when there's tannins in the water, fish can't see each other. So if you've got like very dominant species of cichlids, for example, having that visual break sort of helps to reduce line of sight, which means that they don't get so aggressive, which can be a benefit to having them in a fish tank. Again, that all depends on the size of your tank and what fish you should have in, and you should be mindful of those kind of things. But it is an important thing, I think, sort of going forward. But I mean, there's a lot, an absolute heap of benefits to doing these type of tanks, and I think the Amazon is a really fascinating place, and it's probably my favorite sort of stream, if you will. It's the one that I like to replicate the most. I think it's just a really nice sort of visual thing. I sort of see the beauty in the brown water and that sort of thing, really. So I mean, if we just sort of move past the benefits really of sorry, if we move past talking about the actual Amazon River, and we talk about like how to do this in our own homes, you know, a couple of things to bear in mind is that if you are planning on using botanicals, you know, be mindful of where you get them from for a start. You can go out into the woods in your areas and collect different types of leaves and pods. If you have a look online, there's tons of places where you can have a look at the various different seed pods and leaves that you can use in your tanks. And then depending on where you are in the world, you might be able to just collect them in the woodlands. I live in England, so, you know, there's an abundance of oak leaves, alder trees around. So you can use them quite commonly in your tanks. So that's a great one. If you are foraging for leaves or pods or wood or anything like that, the rule of thumb really is make sure it's dead. So make sure it's completely devoid of anything. It very does depend on the types of things, because if you put those items in and they are still part alive, they can then leach, you know, sort of dangers into your tank. And again, like I was talking about earlier on, being that it's a closed system, then you could have a lot of issues. So we must be careful about that. I personally feel anyway. Also, a lot of people probably don't know, but the time of year that you're collecting your leaves is also a factor that you should be aware of. So it depends on certain times of the year. There could be more sugar still stored in the leaves, which can again cause your bacterial blooms basically in your aquarium. Too much sugar and you put that in your tank, it is going to cause a big bacterial bloom. So it's just things like that to be mindful of. Also, again, I've gone on about it enough times, so I don't want to preach about it all the time. But you know, if you are any botanicals that you plan on using it in your fish tanks, you should make sure you boil them. I personally do. Again, each to their own. If people want to put them in, that's their own choice. But I find the extra precaution is just a safety net for me. I've had bad experiences with not doing it. So, you know, it's boil them for about 40 minutes, then pour the water out, then rinse with tap water, and then use them in your tank. Now, those leaves will leach more tannins. It might not be straight away, like the impact of if you poured all that water that you just boiled into your tank, but you're going to get a more safer sort of environment. And also having those leaves leach slower means that your pH is not going to swing so hard, especially if you've got softer water, like I was saying earlier. So those kind of things are the reasons why I would probably say boiling is a benefit here. Also, if you are foraging in the wild, other things to bear in mind is just making sure that the environments that you're collecting from are, number one, sustainable areas. We don't want to be just taking things off places where we could ruin the area. And also make sure that they are away from like walking trails, like where you don't want like dogs and other animals sort of like weeing on them basically, and then you putting that straight in your tank. Again, another reason why I personally recommend boiling them, because if you do that, then you're reducing those kind of things getting into your tank. So doing that sort of helps, and also just sort of being aware of farmland areas. I mean, I live in Norfolk, so I mean there's farms everywhere. So just being careful of like pesticides that are being sprayed in the area. Those pesticides could, you know, sort of have landed on those dead leaves in the place that I've decided to pick them up. So putting pesticides in your tank is a very, very bad idea, and I have had that bad experience happen to me and wiped out a tank more than once. So that is again another reason why you definitely do boil them, in my view. So here we go. I mean that's mainly sort of my rule of thumb really, in terms of that. You know, I think people can buy them online. I don't want a shameless plug here, but if you want to, you can get them off my website, which is naturalwaters.co.uk. All the leaves that I source there are from sustainable areas. You know, they've all been dried. They're all safe to use. I test them all so many times before putting them into my store for sale. So you can buy them there if you really want to as well. So there's plenty of things to do. Or again, you can, there's other amazing, you know, websites around the world and the UK if you want to as well. Lots of shops now starting to sell them, which I've noticed, which is really cool. I mean, it's so ironic because my local fish shop just down the road from me has got like a tiniest little section of like some catappa leaves, and like it really bugs me because I have mentioned to them before about like expanding, but yeah, they're just a local fish shop that doesn't really know about any of that sort of stuff. So yeah, interesting stuff. So yeah, I mean, uh, lots and lots that you can do with these environments. Again, the Rio is a big one of them. There is hundreds and hundreds of different river streams around the world, and loads have lots of different benefits and types of fish that sort of remain in there, which is really cool. So we, you know, we must sort of do some deep dives on them, I think, in the future. We'll see how we go. Like, if everybody wants it, then I will do it, and hopefully they'll be a bit more polished than what they are today. Again, bear with me, it's my first time doing a presentation like this. I do want to point out that I'm not a scientist or anything like that. I'm just a hobbyist and a fish keeper, so you know, I'm just going on personal experiences and research that I've done in the area, and what I do as well, really. So you know, and I want to spend more time doing that in the future. It's definitely sort of like my focal point with my channel going forward, is that, you know, I'm going to deep dive more into the science behind fish keeping and how it works, basically. So hopefully you'll enjoy those kind of videos going forward. Yeah, so yeah, lots to get stuck into, I think. Where are we? So we have just hit the 30-minute mark there, and my throat hurts, so I'm going to stop talking for a second and have a look at some comments from some people that have dropped some messages on YouTube. Thank you for everybody that has commented. I can see quite a few really nice comments from some people. Aquarium Adventures, Graham, hi mate, thanks for dropping a comment, and yeah, thanks for the 10k shout out there. Yeah, I'm really proud. I have been busting it really hard recently, so I'm really glad that my hard work has started to pay off, which is really good. And yeah, I mean, in terms of my sort of celebration for that as well, I'm doing a giveaway. I did announce it earlier on in December, but since then I did get lots of different other things, and my good friend Father Fish, that you may have heard of if anybody has watched anything to do with natural aquariums, has also put in a bag of his own substrate, which is an amazing part of this giveaway that I'm doing. Also, I have a ton of stuff down here, so I won't show you, but I'm giving away a massive box of botanicals, so you can sort of like a bit of a starter kit, for example, so you can sort of see what you want. I'm also giving away, where is it? One of my t-shirts here that I designed. So I don't know if you can see here. So it says "Embrace Nature," and I've been really working hard on creating some new designs for my store. So if you want to go check them out, that would be amazing. Have a look at the designs. I make them all myself, you know, handmade on like Illustrator, Photoshop, that type of thing. You know, I spent a lot of time going into the details and that, so I'm quite particular about how they are. But yeah, I'm really proud of them. Also with the store, like I've tried, because it's using like a third-party company to print them. I've tried to make the prices of them as low as physically possible. Is barely making any kind of profit out of them, but it's just something nice for people to have. That was all I wanted to do it for, and more sort of hobby related, really. Yeah, so yeah, there's the t-shirt. Also, I have this really cool piece of equipment here, which is a natural waters mug, which are really nice quality. So you get one of them. What else have we got? I have a natural waters tote bag, which you can enjoy as well. And my good friends at Tetras have provided me an absolute ton of goodies as well for you to have. Lots of feeds, lots of water conditioners, that type of thing. So massive thanks to Tetras for doing that sort of stuff. So yeah, absolutely amazing. So yeah, and also there will be some other products that I'm just waiting to come from a couple of other companies as well. So we're going to be putting all of that into a big massive bundle and then getting that out to everybody. So yeah, if you want to be part of the giveaway, just drop a message on my latest substrate video. So just put a comment in there about your favorite type of substrate, and then I will pick a winner. There is also another video that I did. It was like the 3 common mistakes, I think it was, a video back then. So the people that commented on that video are still included in this giveaway. I just wanted to extend it because there was some more products that I was waiting for, and I didn't want anybody missing out, basically. So yeah, absolutely massive giveaway there. And yeah, onwards to my next goal, which is 20k. So hopefully it's achievable by the end of this year. And also I really want to sort of work hard to, you know, like I said, do some more science type of videos, maybe even get some experts if I can as well. You know, I do have a couple of contacts, some scientists that I know in that, so that would be really cool to get some videos with them. But yeah, that's sort of a future thing, really. Yeah, so again, just looking through the comments, I can see Father Fish, thanks for commenting. I really appreciate all of everybody's comments, and yeah, I appreciate the confirmation and shout out from you. Amazing, and thank you very much. I really appreciate it. What a legend you are. Yes, and so having a look at some of the comments here. Again, Juiced Bodus 4325. I hope that I pronounced that right. Thanks for joining. I really appreciate it. Yeah, is it totally relaxed right now? Yeah, difference in behavior of fish, yeah, is amazing, isn't it? When you start adding tannins, you can definitely notice the behavioral changes. Give it more time. Once they all settle, once the aquarium matures and all of that good stuff sort of comes in, I find that the longer they are going, the more that you notice those behavioral changes there. You ask a question, do I use filtration like an outbound filter in my tanks? What is the effect on the filter after months of working in a blackwater tank? Well, so I do use filters. I'm not going to lie. I sometimes use hang-on filters, sometimes use sponge filters, sometimes, yeah, I mean, use like internal filters. What I will say is if you're using botanicals, once they start breaking down, they will clog your filters up very fast. If you've got very fine sponges in those filters, they will clog even faster. So just be aware of that if you are you know, setting up blackwater tanks. They just will naturally clog because the amount of mold, detritus, that sort of stuff is just, there's just more of it. It's organic compounds in it, so it all gets drawn into the filter, and yeah, just clogs them up. So you can use them. There isn't really an easy fix for it, to be honest. You use wave makers, sort of pumps, that type of thing to help circulate the flow. I find is better. You got to remember, a filter isn't necessarily necessary because that's what the substrate's for. So the substrate will absorb any of those nitrates and other compounds once it's matured and it's become its own active substrate, basically its own active thing. Then it sort of eradicates the need for a filter. As long as you've got flow in your filter, in your aquarium, sorry, then the substrate is doing the filtration for you. Again, if you want any more sort of advice on that, I would say that Father Fish here is probably your expert, because I've seen tons of videos where he'd talk about the benefits to creating an active substrate for your tank and how that works as its filtration system. So, loads of content on that. So yeah, very, very good stuff. And again, thank you for the effort you're putting into these important subjects. I really appreciate that. Like, I'm trying to, do something different to other people on the YouTube. Some people, it's just something different. It's my passion, and over the years I think I've got more passionate for it, which is it's quite funny. I just understanding the behavioral benefits and just trying to replicate those in our tanks. Like, I'm so fascinated by just adding more to my tanks, if you know what I mean. So not just inside it, but the outside as well. So expanding on, again, if we come back to observing the Rio, for example, the Rio Negro River, it's so diverse in its biology and ecology there, everything around it and everything. And my tanks, if I had enough money and enough space, they would all have, like, hedges and trees all over the top of them, because I would love to have that natural cover over them. I'm a big sort of nerd when it comes to like wanting to create these like natural element systems as well. So you've probably seen on a couple of videos that I've done before where I've tried to create like rainfall effects. And I mean, those kind of things are about, I mean, you see them on sort of reptile environments and stuff. I seen people sort of playing around with like paludariums, and they've got like misters and sprays and stuff for like frogs and things like that you can keep. So it's kind of using those kind of things, but like on a fish tank, and having water droplets hitting the tank to create rain. Then I've seen, again, trying it myself, like behavioral changes to that. Fish are more active, like they respond to the water, which is fascinating to see. So, oh God, if I had the space and the money and the time, it would be amazing to create like a fully functional, like aquatic system that had rainfall, wind, natural, injections of water and things like that, like different flow changes throughout the day, temperature, a way of set up so the temperature decreases at nighttime, increases in the sunshine, having the lights spend more time dimming and getting brighter throughout the day. So having a complete, like, homemade ecosystem going, like, with all that sort of stuff. And like I said, having the plants surrounding it and everything just looks super cool anyway. So yeah, I mean, I'm fascinated in exploring more of that. I have done videos on, benefits to lighting and that sort of thing in the past as well. So seeing like, the lightning effects on aquarium lights, like loads of people think that they're such a bad thing and why would you have it? But lightning is nature. Like, you see that every day, and fish have like a response to that. Sometimes in the wild you would see lightning as like a reset response. So fish could be swimming around erratically, or they could be doing something, and then the lightning flickers, and it, like, there's studies on it. If you don't believe me, just go online and have a look. But there's scientific studies where their fish will just freeze, and then it like resets them, and then they just sort of like, they'll change the behaviors to it. So there's loads of different like amazing benefits to having these type of things set up for your tank. It's just doing them right, basically, and in controlled ways, as opposed to sort of just going a bit crazy and just free balling it, basically. So yeah, anyway, back to the comments, because I am rambling. Father Fish. I'd say a gift certificate to buy it in your store would probably be the best thing, to be honest. then we can get it to a person a lot quicker. So that would be amazing. Juiced Bodeus, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, but thanks for commenting. And you're saying your substrate is still in the maturing process, so for the time being use an outboard filter. Yep, great idea. Yeah, wait until that. I mean, tanks are a patient thing, aren't they? You don't just throw everything in and on day one and it all happens, sort of thing. It takes time for these things to mature. Yeah, again, that sort of thing is probably all comes down to the way that the misconception is on how to start an aquarium and all that sort of stuff. But that's a rant for another day, that one. But yes, taking your time. It's all about that's part of the journey, though, isn't it? Like it's exciting to see your aquarium mature over time, seeing the leaves to start with, and then they break down and have those kind of exoskeletons, and then turn into mold, and then you start the process again. So your tank is ever changing in that way as well, which is also really cool. Maybe buy a shed in the rainforest and go there a couple of times a year. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Yeah, that would be awesome, to be honest. I mean, it is a dream of mine. Like I would love to dive the rivers. I see people online doing it and I just get very jealous. It'd just be so cool to see some of these fish in the wild for myself and explore that. I don't know how on earth people arrange these kind of things without, like, I don't know, knowing like aquarium companies or biologists that are in the area and stuff like that. But I mean, yeah, that would be such a cool thing. So I am getting to about 50 minutes here. My throat is getting dry. Yeah, I hope what I've talked about today has kind of given a bit of an oversight on how the Amazon River is and the kind of environment that you'd see there. I would highly recommend doing some research on it, just having a look at the area and just sort of seeing how you could replicate those kind of things in your home. Even just starting with a few leaves, for example, just some small bits and pieces, maybe even just playing around with the substrate to start with. There's different ways of doing different types of substrates. Don't just go for like aqua soil. Use sand and use peat soil, for example. So you put the soil underneath and then the sand on top, and it creates an enriched substrate. Again, that can be really beneficial for like heavily planted tanks and stuff. You can use just sand and then loads of leaf litter on there. There's lots of different things that you can try and just have an experiment. Loves to see it all as well. So that's why I started my Discord server, so I can see what other people are getting up to. So definitely join it. Let me just put a link in the chat, like for the Discord, because it's newly set up. So and here you can download all the PDFs and everything like that. So definitely check it out. It's very new, so have a look. And yeah, I'm really excited. If I get some really cool people involved in it, it'd be great to have some like moderators and people to come and join the community and build something really special there for us. I've got sections on habitats that I've already created. I wonder if I can share my screen. How do I do it? So can I do this? Stop screen. Don't know if that's worked. Share screen. Discord. Share. Yeah. So here, so for the Amazon River, I've got like the just a brief overview of everything that's going on there, and you can see different types of fish. Again, I didn't want to go too deep, but there's a scientific study there on like dissolved like organics, like tannins that are available there. I found some pictures online and everything, so you can see sort of the rough area of the Amazon, and it's kind of like the areas that you could try to recreate, and included some really cool underwater videos and stuff like that. But again, I don't want to dwell on that too much because copyright reasons on the live. But yeah, I mean, check it out and let me know what you think. So that's really cool. So I think that's everything that I had to talk about today. Upcoming stuff. So again, I have lots I'm planning on working on. There is another video to end off my sort of Blackwater Revisited series. So that was a really fun project, and obviously that's worked out really well for me long term, because it's done wonders for my channel and stuff, and made me realize that that is definitely a direction that I want to go, sort of debunking the science and sort of going into more details for the hardcore fish keepers, I guess. But people seem to enjoy it, and sort of just giving a bit of an overview of it, really. So do more of that, I think. But yeah, I've got one more video to do that's on that, talking about sort of botanicals and things like that. And then I am going to start another series and hopefully sort of debunk some of the science behind sort of ways of setting up certain things in fish keeping and stuff. So not just showing you how to do it, but showing you why you should do it, and sort of the bits in between there. But yeah, so that's my plan coming up, and then hopefully doing some sort of members course. So I'll give you the sort of the how to do it and then the why type thing. So you've got sort of a bit of both there, so something for everybody, really. So yeah, that's all I've got to say, really. I haven't got much time left, so if you have any comments, definitely drop them in the comment section there. And again, thanks for everybody that's commented and joined so far, and I really appreciate it. Check out the Discord as well, because there is lots of stuff on there, like I said. And don't forget to join the competition. Sorry, this is where my head's all over the place, but like there is one more thing that I have spent about a year working on, and this is the problem with me. Like my head just goes off on 101 different things. So like I'm doing all these videos, and then I'm like, oh right, yeah, and I need to do this, and then I start creating, like, say, t-shirts, for example, and then I'm like, oh right, yeah, I need to build a fish tank, and then I want to do that, and then after that I'm like, oh yeah, what about this idea, I could do that and try this, and then I'm like, oh yeah, what about this? One other thing that I've been working on is and I've done this myself. I try to do everything myself as much as I can. I don't like outsourcing, and I'm a very creative person anyway. And this has spent me like untold hours to do, but I have been developing an app, and it's really cool so far. And it's got some amazing features in it. I don't want to give too much away, because it's really exciting, and I will talk about that once it's actually live. But there's some really cool AI features on it. There's some really cool like habitat sections that deep dive into all of them, best botanicals to use, that type of thing. Lots and lots of different extra bits as well. Just things like, when you click on a habitat, it'll tell you the exact weather that's in the area of that habitat. So it just shows you the current climate temperatures. And even that little thing like took me like days to sort, but it's just, and it gave me a lot of headaches. So, but I'm really proud of it, and I'm really excited to show that. So I'm not too far off finishing it. So I'm hoping to get that out at some point in the coming months, but I don't want to put a date on it or any timestamp, but I will get it out as quickly as I can. But I'm just very proud of it, and I want to make sure it works 100% before sort of showing it to everybody, because it would just bother me if there's glitches and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's it for me today. Please let me know if you enjoyed this. Drop some comments in the comment section. If you've just so happened to come across this live stream and you haven't already, drop a subscribe. Like, I never ask, so it's weird asking, but yeah, thank you very much. If you're really interested, again, I will do lots more of this type of thing. If you want to become a member of the channel or anything like that, I would, I'd be forever thankful. But I will try my best to, again, if this channel grows and really takes off, then I will ensure that I get like, specialist people within the hobby, like on live streams, maybe members only ones, that type of thing. Do some available to everybody. I want to share the knowledge and sort of like, you know, make the hobby better, as opposed to just sort of, yeah, taking advantage of it and that type of thing. So yeah, yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Really hope that you enjoy your evening. I'm gonna go chill out on the sofa with a drink now and yeah, relax. So yeah, thanks for watching, really appreciate it, and I shall see you soon.